Hello, everybody, and welcome to Jenny from the Chopping Block with Peter Swain. And I just wanted to interview Peter because he is on fire and we have so much to talk about because I feel like you're involved in so many things. Are you the creator of Hack Mankind?
I am, amongst other things. Thank you for having me. Yes, we created Hack Mankind. It seems like months ago, but I think it was only about 6 weeks ago now.
Isn't that it's incredible. I feel personally that like I've made friendships, and when I look back to when we met throughout COVID, I'm like, oh my, I've only known this person 2 weeks or whatever it is. And I'm like, that is really weird to think about because it feels like years that I've known the person.
Yeah, and I think COVID's an accelerator for a lot of things. I think it's an accelerator for relationships and support. But I also think it's an accelerator for humankind to either do better or worse. And that's kind of why we decided to set it up.
Beautiful. So can you tell the audience a little bit about Hack Mankind and what you guys been accomplishing these past couple of weeks?
Yeah, so before this, I was a digital strategist. So I helped people make more money in their business, grow their business exponentially. And that was going superbly well until about February, March. And then obviously everything changed. But I kind of saw what COVID was going to be a little bit before most people saw it was going to be, because historically I was running my own agency during the 2008 recession. I ran a business in Dubai during 9/11.
Wow.
And I mean, obviously the tragedy of 9/11 was much bigger for other people than it was for me. But my perspective of it was that 85% of the population of the town I was trying to do business in disappeared and went home in a day. Like everybody just went home, right? The streets were just empty in 24 hours. And I was running a business there as well that tried to cope with that. And before that, I was in the world of .com when the bubble burst at the end of the 90s. So I've kind of been through three huge market shifts. So when COVID started coming out, I was saying to people that were worried, I was saying, you think these are the bad days? These are going to be the good days.
Wow.
Wait till you see what happens in 2 weeks' time.
It's remarkable.
So I kept getting asked these questions above the business. People were saying, what's going to happen with schools? What's going to happen with this? What's going to happen with that? And I was like, we need to respond in a bigger way, or I need to respond in a bigger way. So I set up Hack Mankind and went and found 20 plus amazing people to work with me, and said, I can't afford to pay you a penny, but let's go and do something awesome, and let's go and reach some people.
Money's just energy, right? I think we're abundant in that.
And it's I'm not shy of saying that I hope that Hack Mankind at some point is a financial entity, but right now its goal is to help with two things, and that has never changed. The way we're doing it is changing a bit, but what's never changed is we want to make sure people don't live in a state of fear, and we want to make sure that people don't live with misinformation. And they're the two things that we think we can help fight. So we have kind of two prongs to what we do. One is panelists and experts. So we have an expert in business, health and fitness, legal, childhood and education, mindset and motivation, spirituality and relationships, that are available to answer any questions from anybody that they might have. And some of those questions are just amazing. Like the depth of detail that we've been able to help people with has been phenomenal. And then the second kind of string that we have is a support network. So it's just helping people share their frustrations, their challenges, their successes. Because the end equation of this is really quite simple. If you live in fear, then you live in stress. And if you live in stress, you diminish your immune system. And if there's a killer virus circulating the planet, the one thing you might want to do is not have a reduced immune system. So no matter how bad your world might be right now, and some people are truly suffering, you need to find a way, if possible, to see the positivity in this, because this is the first time in your adult life, and probably the only time in your adult life that you get to take a gap year, right? I regret the fact that I didn't take a gap year. Like I was so busy, I was education, work, and I look back at these people and like, yeah, I went to here, I went to Nepal, I did this. I'm like, wow, why didn't I do that when I was 21? That would have been an awesome experience to have. Right now, people have a gap year. I was reading about someone the other day that's teaching his 13-year-old son how to restore and fix an engine in a car.
Wow.
Right? That would never happen. That could never happen when in the day-to-day world we used to live in. And now it can. And I think people have to seek and find those opportunities.
Wow, that's amazing. And I admire you and I look up to you and I want to learn more from you and be more involved in the cause. And I see so many top people that I highly respect and love and are just so pure being involved with you. And I just appreciate what you're doing. And I've also seen you on with Sean Callagy, who I also highly respect and love. Can you tell me a little bit about your involvement with Unblinded and how that's been for you?
Yeah, so I mean, I got introduced to Unblinded by Fernando in November of last year. And at the time, it was quite interesting when people said, do you want to meet Sean? And I said, no. And they're like, no. I'm not the kind of guy that stands in line to shake somebody's hand. I don't really care who they are. Sean and I will meet. I'm sure we'll meet, and I want to work with him. I've got an amazing amount of respect for him, but I'm not going to meet him until I've got something I want to talk to him about. I'm not, and I just don't do it. The stand in line to shake somebody's hands. It's just not who I am. Actually, that's not true. You and I have one mutual acquaintance I've done that for. I did that for Gary Vee. He's about the only person I've ever stood in line.
I would stand in line too, but I hope I don't have to. I keep having in my meditations. Yesterday I was in a swirly chair in his office. Gary, I hope maybe you're listening. I was swirling around on my chair in your office.
Brilliant. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That was the only person I've ever stood in line for. But everybody else, I'm like, no. So,
wow.
Sean and I met kind of properly in probably February, March, because, I mean, if you don't know this guy, seek him out. I mean, Sean Callagy he's literally Yoda. I mean, that's the only way I can describe him, right? This is a guy that when you watch him speak on stage, you are literally hanging off your seat waiting for him to talk. And then someone says, he's blind. And you go, I'm sorry? No, he's not. Like, the command and presence and the integrity he has is phenomenal. So yeah, I became involved with Unblinded, and we're working out how that looks and how that fits over the next couple of weeks. And then obviously I asked Sean if he would join Hack Mankind on the mindset and motivation side, which led to the huge Grant Cardone thing a couple of weeks ago. Have you seen this yet?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so
I like it.
I'm using that. I'm going to plug this because it should happen. We want it to happen. So a couple of weeks ago, Grant Cardone did a video saying, on the rumors of my bankruptcy, it's true. And then 48 hours later, I think it was, could have been 24, he did another video saying, that was fake. Can't believe you fell for it. And what you got to do right now is whatever you've got to do to get ahead. And if that means fake news, if that means manipulating the truth, that's okay. Now, I'm paraphrasing, but basically, his message was, it's okay to lie. And people like Sean, people like myself, certainly, people like Gary Vee, don't agree with that. We go, no, that it's not okay to lie. And Grant, if you were to watch this, you have millions of people that follow you, and it is rank disgusting to be trying to teach them that the way to do this is to lie and cheat and steal. The whole purpose of Hack Mankind was to say that we could have a better future, not a worse one, and that we can use this new normal, this great reset, whatever poetic phrase we want, as an opportunity to challenge our behaviors as humans and go, is that something we want? One of the things that I'm so keen to say to people is that, just as an example, lots of cities have housed the homeless in this time and said, okay, we can't leave you out on the street, both for the sake of everybody else in terms of viral spread and for the sake of yourself, so we're going to house you. So I'm just curious what's going to happen in a week, 2, 3 weeks. Are we just going to throw them back out again? I mean, who is the guy that's going to say, thanks very much, see you later, open the door, you can now go and be homeless again? I truly hope that isn't going to happen. But it could. We could literally all want to forget about this time and walk away from it and shake it off like it was a bad nightmare and just go back to our crappy behavior that we did before, where we were too concerned with our wants and not of other people's needs, where we were constantly chasing the next dollar or the next dream, and the human cost and the planet cost. I'm not a huge environmentalist, but when you look at the damage we do and what we get back from that damage, one of my examples I use quite regularly is there's a very large apple juice company in the States, like the market leader. I'm just trying not to say their names anymore because we've now got enough audience where I keep getting warned I'm going to get sued. So,
oh, really? Wow. Never thought of
the
that.
market leader, on the back of their product, of their apple juice, it says this contains
10% juice.
No, it says we can take product from 12 countries. Now, from my knowledge of the industry, about 80% of the cost of a carton of apple juice comes from bottling and distribution. So let's say it's a dollar for that carton of juice. If 80 cents of it is in bottling and distribution, you've only got 20 cents left for the cost of the product. So how much could you have possibly saved by sourcing the product from 12 different countries instead of sourcing it from one?
Wow.
The answer is about 3 or 4 cents. But the impact that you have on the planet by shipping that product from 12 different countries is immense. And I think that's where people don't get it, don't want to get it. And I include you and I in that conversation, sadly. We want to turn a blind eye to that and say, well, if I was to ask you, do you want to save this 3 cents and be responsible and culpable for killing these 1,000 animals? I think you would say no. I think you go, hell no, that's not a good deal. But
you're hitting home right now because yeah.
But we make those choices as consumers every day.
Yeah.
Without really realizing the choices we're making. And I think we need to, change those choices. So anyway, Sean and I were talking about Grant Cardone on one of our interviews on Friday. It's an issue that Sean cares about quite dearly because his core message is integrity. And out of nowhere, Sean decided, we didn't set it up, he said, I will bet $250,000 that I kick his beep beep in a debate. And Sean never swears. So it's like, whoa, here we go.
Yeah, baby. Bring it.
And so Sean literally has put down a $250,000 marker to say, Grant Cardone, if you think you can win a debate with me as to A, your sales tactics, and B, the integrity of what you did, then step up. We're kind of trying to get that as far out there as we can because we want some pressure on Grant because I want to see it, right? Grant Cardone is a consummate showman. He's a very successful guy. But on the flip side, Sean Callaghy is a trial lawyer that has 2 of the top 100 verdicts in his favor. Debating is what he does for a living. And I hope
it's going to happen.
It happens, and I hope he wins because I would like to prove to the world that integrity is more powerful.
I think that's a great example right now with everything, like how our mindset with the leaders and the people that, people look up to these leaders and to make sure that their values and their integrity is intact.
Yeah, and I think there's quite a few people, sadly, it's not. And when a market, I was speaking about this with on our legal panel yesterday, when a market contracts, the things that gets lost around the outside are the people that are weak. So market contractions, such as COVID, are normally quite a good thing because the people that are left are the people that are strong. But what would be nice if it wasn't just the people that were strong, but also the people that were, for want of a better word, pure. I don't want the strong bad people left. I want the strong good people left.
I just felt that, like in my being, when you said that, and I appreciate those words because I think that's so important.
But it's a choice. We have to make the choice to not refer back to where we were. And if enough people make that choice, then the future we can have can literally be awesome. It can be an amazing rebirth. I sound like a total hippie, and I'm not, but you know, I don't want. Yeah, I don't want.
Like, I got a little of that hippie vibe in me. No one knows it, but I got a little of that.
I try and stifle it, but then I did this, and everyone's like, you're a hippie." I'm like, "Yeah." It's
You're just a force for good.
That's the plan, but we know that we're going to have a vaccine, right? We know there's going to be a vaccine, and the next sentence literally makes me want to vomit a little bit, because we also know the vaccine is going to go to New York and London, not Mumbai and Kenya. Right? We know there'll be a limited supply of the vaccine, because in any world when you start, there is a limited supply. Okay, so if we have a limited supply, fine. Is it really right that should go to the people of wealth and prosperity over the people that are most vulnerable to the problems? Right? Because Pakistan have announced that they're going to lift their lockdown next week. This virus has a reproductive rate of 3. So that means that when one person catches it, 3 other people will catch it. And that is not factoring in the proximity and density of populations that places like Pakistan, Mumbai, Karachi, etc. have. And I know for anyone that listens to that, I just used an Indian city and a Pakistan list, so I apologize for that, but I don't mean to be culturally insensitive to that. But I'm just pulling out examples. If it hits places like that, right, it's going to make what we've seen in the UK and US look like a walk in the park. And that terrifies me. Now, I guess this is where I'm being ignorant enough to say I don't have an answer. Smarter people than me, viral epidemiologists and global economists, should be finding answers. But it is, I feel, my responsibility to ask the questions and ask them as loudly as I can. And someone asked me the other day, am I enjoying what we're doing with Hack Mankind? The truth is, no, I'm not. But it's a calling that I can't really feel that I can ignore, because I promised my daughter that I would make the best world I could for her. And I know I have the capability to scale things, and I know I have the capability to influence people. So yeah, I could carry on churning out contracts for digital strategy for people, and I'm busier than I ever was, because there's huge amounts of opportunity in the digital space for people right now, like ridiculous opportunity for some people. But I'm having to turn some of that away and only work with very select people that I have either I love them or I love what they're doing, to make the time to make sure Hack Mankind can launch, because it has to happen. Every single person needs to question their choices. And if they question their choices and they decide they don't care about the answer, perversely, I'm all right with that. If someone says, you know what, I don't give a toss about the environment, I'm going to carry on drinking that apple juice, even if it means that koalas die, because I want to get apple juice at 3 cents less. Honestly, and most people would go, that's ridiculous, but I would go, okay, well, at least you thought about it. At least you came up with an answer. And if that's where your moral compass is, I don't want to know you. I don't want to be your friend, but fair play. It's to all the other people that wander around allowing, and now I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist as well, it's all the people that wander around allowing society to make those choices for them, and have never stopped to think why people say, oh, the iPhone's really too expensive. When I worked with Apple, I talked to them about, aren't you worried about the cost of this device now? I mean, how is someone supposed to have the disposable income to actually buy this? And they didn't laugh, but it was very close. It's not about disposable income, it's about access to credit. Our system is based on being in debt. That's what our world is based on. Our world is based on advertising agencies and sales and marketing agencies and product agencies building something that you find aspirational, and aspirational enough that you then borrow the money, either on a credit card or a mortgage or something else, to actually then go and buy that. If you ever burn down enough of your mortgage, they will ask if you want to remortgage and say, here, would you like some more debt? If you ever get your credit card down from $10,000 to $9,000, they'll extend your credit up to $12,000. They want you to be in this cyclical system, and they don't want you to break out. And I say they as if it's an individual, and it's not. It's the system of each of those people are playing in perfect harmony with each other, and the harmony needs you in the middle being willing to carry on running. And someone said to me, yeah, but so what do I do? And I said, well, what happens if you don't pay, your mortgage? And they went, well, they'll take my house. I went, well, does that actually matter? And they're like, well, I'm like, no, I'm not saying it doesn't. I actually agree it does. But have you actually stopped to think as to whether that actually does truly matter? And someone said, yeah, well, I can't afford to go to college. I'm like, what are you learning at college that you believe is actually of value to the world? And they're like, sorry? I'm like, if you tell me that you've thought this through and you need a college education because you want to do X, Y, Z, then I fully agree and endorse with the decision. But if you haven't stopped to think it through, then somebody else is making that decision for you.
It's so true.
And it's not you. Architect your own life. Do what you want to do. And if you want to sleep in the woods without a house and you want to forage and fish, then fair play to you, because that's how you want to live your life. It wouldn't be how I want to live my life. I don't think it'd be how you want to live your life, but that isn't a non-viable choice. But we ostracize people that make alternative choices. At least they made a choice, right? They might be slightly woo-woo in the head, but at least they made the choice, and that's fantastic. And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to remind people, make a choice. Make a choice for what's good for you and how you're going to live your life, and try and make some choices about what's good for humanity.
Yeah, I'm resonating with everything you're saying, and unfortunately, I've learned some of the lessons of having, college debt and not being able to pay a mortgage and losing everything and all that jazz. So it is a cycle, and I think moving into my future, I'm going to make a lot different choices.
I hope so for you, because it's, I spent years employing people. I've probably hired and fired a good couple of thousand people by now, and the amount of people that came to me from university with an expectation and literally no clue and no idea what it is they need to do. And you turn around to people, like, I know the UK and the US are different. I'm like, they said, I got a 2-1, and they're really proud. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so what percentage do you get? They get like 64%. I'm like, okay, just so you know, for you to survive 2 days with me, my expectation is 98, 97. Right? When you walk into an employer, they're not looking for 64%. They're not looking for 2/3 of your best. They're looking for your best. In the UK, there's no minimum attendance. At university, you have to attend certain amounts, but it's very loose as to how much your attendance is. And again, it's kind of like you're looking at it going, okay, just so you know, 9 o'clock means 8:30. And you've got 21-year-olds going, sorry? I'm like, no. When I say start at 9 o'clock, it doesn't mean amble in the door at 5 past. It means game time at 9 o'clock. And I feel really sorry for them. And I mean that genuinely, because they've been ill prepared for the demands of work. What is university if it isn't preparing you for work?
Yeah, I'll never forget.
Yeah, you then couple that with 100 grand's worth of debt at the same time. I'm like, you got sold a pup here, right?
I fell for it.
Yeah, it's like, and they're looking at you going, what? I'm like,
but I also worked my ass off my whole adult life. So I was paying I still had debt, but I was paying as much as I could as I went, working 3 jobs, going to school, volunteering at the fire department. I mean, I've done it. But I wanted to say I had a boss at Starbucks, actually, when I was younger, who said to me, if you're early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And if you're late, you're fired. And I always think about that because it's a good reminder.
Exactly. And you look across every company that's like exemplary and you find similar thing. And you've heard the phrase success leaves clues. Right? That is the Starbucks approach, because their ethos is consistent quality and time of delivery, you have an expectation as a customer that you're going to get your coffee within 3 minutes, which means that anything about timekeeping, Starbucks will be absolutely militant about, because it's not actually just about you arriving on time, it's about them making sure that you understand the importance of time to the end consumer. Disney, very similar. You turn up to Disney twice not smiling, you're fired. Like, you turn up for work without a big grin on your face, and you're fired, because their message is, we want to make our customers' days magical.
Happiest place on earth.
Happiest place on earth. Right. So if you can't smile, go home. Right. And this, it's not that I'm not saying to people don't go to university. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying if you want to go to university and it's a plan that you have perceived, and you look at the 100 grand's worth of debt and it has value to you, then go and do it. But don't default into anything. Don't default into marriage. Don't default into education. Don't default into owning a house. Don't default into having kids. Definitely do not default into having kids. Do not default into having 2 cars. Make those choices. And if those choices work for you, fantastic. And if you make the wrong choice, that's okay as well. But make a choice. And I hope that's what this period is. It's about making a choice.
I love it. I want to backtrack a little bit because I'm really curious to what you see in Gary, because I'm curious to what made you wait online to meet him? Like, how does he stand out to you? I love him.
What I love about Gary is 2 things. First of all, is it 2 or is it 1?
It's 2.
Yeah, it's the consistency of the message, and the fact that he knows the message isn't sexy, but he's never tried to package it up or pad it or fill it in order to sell it. Like, let's talk about Grant Cardone for a second. Grant Cardone's message, his first message, the message, was 10x, which is everything that you want to achieve is going to take 10 times the effort you think it's going to achieve, but the good news is you're going to get 10 times the reward if you actually go through it. Right? The end. Right? And on that, he's managed to write about 18 books.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, and everyone of the same nature has managed to. That's how you sell something. You package it and fill it and brand it and position it in such a way that it becomes appealing and hopefully complex. Right? But Gary's message has been produce content, lots of it, consistently, be authentic, don't be a dick, underpriced real estate, attention is the only true currency.
Wow.
I think that's it, isn't it?
He says so many killer lines that I'm like, oh.
But they're all a flavor of the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, true.
How many people?
Same message.
So many people are like, "Oh, get your side hustle on," da 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 da. And guys like, "Yeah, get your side hustle, but by the way, it's going to earn you no money." Like, every time someone stands up, I can't believe the people that still stand up and ask him about how do I make money while sitting on a beach in some variation, because like people still asking that question of I want to easy work from home money, residual income. He's like, it doesn't exist. You work your ass off and you'll earn money, and if you're not willing to work your ass off, you won't earn any money. And anybody else that's trying to sell you that is just trying to sell you a dream, probably because they want you to buy their $600 course.
We all know that's true.
But very few people are willing to say it. So yeah, I love the consistency of what he says, and I love the fact that he's selling something that's actually quite hard to sell, because it's so simple, it's hard to sell. Does that make? It sounds like a bit of a dichotomy, but it's so much easier. Like, the diet industry is the perfect example, right? Every diet book can actually be reduced to one piece of paper, which says "move more, eat less." Mm-hmm. Right? You can literally take. And to anyone that's listening that's a dietitian or a health fitness, I'm aware there's nuance and detail. But the 90th percentile of the advice that's contained in 10,000 books basically says, here's a different way to move more and eat less. Mm-hmm. But you can't sell move more, eat less for $25. So you have to write a 300-page book to put around the concept of move more, eat less. And Gary's actually willing to kind of say, move more, eat less, don't be a dick. Next question. Yeah. And I find that refreshing.
It is refreshing.
Yeah.
Oh,
So yes,
God.
that's why I say Govi over most people. You look at him and go, "There's just you've never tried to package this to make it something that is more brandable, more sellable, more marketable. You've just been true and real to the thing you believe all the way through. And by the way, if anyone wants to review your CV, you've been right far more than you've been wrong."
Yeah. And I see, other mentors, because I have like I start my mornings with Unblinded, then I go to Gary, then I go to Jay Shetty, and then I go, Damon John. And I just have like my quarantine mentors that I'm like hooked to. And I see them now interviewing on Instagram, like with their audience, and just how much joy it brings them.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so beautiful to see. And I mean, that's what I think Gary was like one of the founders of that, talking to people one-on-one like we are right now. It's just like it's such a beautiful change. And I just see a change following them since the beginning, just like in them, like their presence with people and seeing how much impact they have. I think it's like a two-way street. That's really beautiful.
I think something, I was one of the first web developers in the UK. I started in web development in 1992. So it was before Yahoo had only just been invented. Internet Explorer didn't exist. And my belief all the way through has been that you care about the product and the audience first, and then you worry about the monetization of that as a secondary concern. Build something awesome and make sure you're giving people amazing amounts of value. And honestly, it's almost impossible not to monetize something if you do that. I mean, literally, at that point, money is getting thrown at you, right? Whether it's a brand exercise, whether it's Lululemon or Under Armour, or people saying, "Can I pay you more to subscribe to something?" At that point, it's literally almost impossible to not monetize it. If you focused on the product and the audience, then money becomes a byproduct. And I'm not correct insofar as the other way also works. You can start thinking about the money and then do it the other way around. I've seen it work too many times, sadly, for me to say it doesn't work. It does. Oh, wow. But I don't think it's the right way to do it. I think the right way to do it is say, what am I going to do? How's it going to have impact? How am I going to serve people? How am I going to step up? And once I've done that, great. Then let's have some dollar bills raining down on my head. That's fantastic. And I think that's kind of, again, I think that's something that Gary preaches all the time, was talking about when do you monetize your audience, right? When you have to, but not earlier, and keep pushing it back as far as you can, and eventually you can sell them K-Swiss sneakers and they'll still say yes.
So dope.
Yeah. But they're just sneakers. But come on, but they are.
I mean, I think they'll be worth something even more in the future.
That's probably true.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, I want to be respectful of your time, but I have two more fun questions, if you don't mind.
Of course.
So the first one is, if you had a superpower, what would it be?
I would want to be bulletproof to step in front of bullies.
Aw.
I'd like to be able to turn on pure invincibility. The one thing I can't stand is people that are bullies. It just drives me absolutely insane. So whatever I needed to combat them, I'd combat.
Beautiful. I just thought of like Care Bear, just like shooting them love. Being like, I know you're hurting. I know you're hurting, so here's some love, because hurt people hurt people.
Yeah, again, this is where I become less for hippie and go, at some point, I don't care about the hurt people. I want to say, no, just stop hurting other people. True. But you are right, and better people than me can see compassion and empathy, and I find that quite hard. I mean, my nursery that my son goes to in the UK has had to ask people, it's a bit complicated, they've had to ask people to pay money to keep the nursery open even though they can't look after the kids. Because of the way the government regulation has happened, they can't access any support. So basically they've got two choices. They've turned around to the parents of the nursery and said, either you literally gift us $500, or your kid can't come back. Because if you don't gift us the money, we can't keep the staff on. And if we can't keep the staff on, then there won't be staff for your children to come back. So it's a crappy situation. And I kind of just stood on the sideline until some of the parents actually set up a private WhatsApp group, started throwing venom around, and then leaked the messages from the communication from the nursery to the local paper. And it just got like really out of control. Now, the people that run this nursery, in their own words, you know, they know kids, they know education, but they're not business people. They're two beautiful women that decided to set up a nursery because they love looking after kids, right? And suddenly they're faced with people calling them liars, cheats, thieves, being duplicitous. And I said to my wife, I've got to get involved now. And she's like, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to stop it. So we're going to do a webinar with the other parents next week, and literally just call them out and say, well, you wanted to say something, so have you got the courage to say it in front of 100 other people instead of this little closed WhatsApp group? And we've invited the journalist as well from the paper and say, you want to write stuff? We'll come and listen to the source and hear truth. Because I was completely apathetic about it until it became bullying. It's like, no, these, whether they're right or wrong to ask for the money is not the relevant fact.
I think that's a touchy subject, and I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like businesses, a lot of people are hurting in that area, and people don't know what goes on behind the scenes in small business and all that. But it is a very sensitive time, I think, and I'm not sure about which way, I don't have an opinion on, but to ask for money right now when there's a lot of people out of work. And
I think I don't want people to be scared to ask for money. If you're offering value and you're doing good, then ask for what it is that you need or deserve. But when you get faced with resistance or worse, animosity, try and understand that the people that are offering it are in pain. And it isn't actually personal. But I think you need a resilience right now to be able to say, you know, I'm going to ask for money to do this service. And when people go, that's an outrage, you go, it's not, because I need money just as much as everybody else. But just don't have that conversation. Say, I respect your right and your opinion. You know, we're very proud in the UK and US that we don't live in communist societies, and yet we're very quick to try and shut down debate and discourse. And I don't really understand it. Democracy is founded on the ability to have a debate with someone that you totally disagree with.
I worked for politics for years, and I had so many friends on both sides, and you know, people would kind of look at me like, why are you talking to the other side? And I'm like, because they're fucking people and they have a cool side to them.
And actually, and even more importantly, you don't learn anything by talking to your own side.
Truth.
Right? If you talk to someone that thinks what you think, you walk away. I mean, it might be a good 15-minute coffee, but it doesn't actually change something. Whereas talking to someone that says, no, I think you're wrong, you're like, okay, cool. Now, at the end of it, you probably still don't agree with them, but at least you understand a different perspective.
Absolutely.
But we seem to have totally shut that down. I mean, both in the UK and the US, us because of Brexit, and I think I'm not going to say Trump because of Trump, but I think he was a symptom of a much larger thing. We've become so bipartisan, so separated down the aisle that we now just judge people on that red, blue, pro-life, pro-choice, pro-gun, pro-that, and we just literally just go, okay, you're over there. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to know you. It's like, well, how does that work then? How do we actually reach a point of agreement, which has to be a compromise? Anyway, this is totally off topic.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we went there, but it's fun, and I'm so grateful to be connecting with you because I love talking to you. You're amazing, and I want to thank Diana Lammertz for connecting us.
She's amazing. What was your second question, quickly?
So my second question is, I want to incorporate my brand, Jenny from the Chopping Block, and I'm kind of cooking up some ideas on how to, you know, recreate some recipes from all my, you know, my co-hosts, whatever you want to call it. So can you tell me your favorite food and or recipe?
Wow. Oh, that's
now it's hard.
Totally off the top of my head. Yeah, I will tell you that my favorite food at the moment is, and I don't even know how to make it, so it's a terrible offer.
It's okay.
Is
I'm gonna make it
my
for you.
wife does a battered chicken, which is made from rice flour, not
Ooh,
from normal flour, so it's gluten free.
beautiful. I'm keto.
Yeah, so you literally just bash the chicken breast and thin it out. I think she then kind of puts it in egg, and then instead of using normal flour, uses rice flour. And then literally just kind of very shallow fry it for a couple of minutes. It's absolutely amazing. It tastes as close to like KFC as you can get.
Beautiful. So it's probably buttermilk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that'd be it. And I then spend most of my time barbecuing. So my passion is always how to do a good steak, which isn't really a recipe. It's just one method.
I want to know a little bit more about seasoning. What's your favorite like flavor, Town?
If you get everything right in the prep, it's just salt and pepper. And if you get it right, if you get it wrong, then you need to cover it with stuff for that very reason.
Love it. Bam. All right, Peter. Well, I'm really looking forward to getting to know you better. And I'm super grateful, and I've had an amazing day so far, and I'm happy to be in your presence.
And vice versa.
And I hope everyone else found great value. And I love you guys, and I'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye.